Stop for a second. Look at the device in your hand, or look at the screen in front of you. You are holding a miracle. 20 years ago, this technology would have been considered science fiction. You have the sum of human knowledge accessible with a thumb swipe. You have every song ever recorded, ready to play instantly. You can order food from any culture on Earth and have it delivered to your door in 30 minutes. You have infinite entertainment, infinite comfort, infinite novelty. By every logical metric, you should be the happiest human being to ever walk the face of the earth. You are safer, richer, and more stimulated than any king, emperor, or pharaoh in history. So answer this question. Why are you so miserable? Why do you feel that low-level hum of anxiety in your chest from the moment you wake up? Why do you feel that restless, itching compulsion to check your phone, even when you know there are no new notifications? Why does the food taste less sweet? Why does the show feel less engaging? Why does it feel like you are constantly running, constantly consuming, but never actually arriving at a place of satisfaction? Here is the hard truth. The reason you are miserable is because you are working so hard to avoid being miserable. You are a victim of your own evolution. You are a biological machine designed for a world that no longer exists. Dr. Anna Lemke, the author of Dopamine Nation, gives us the perfect metaphor to understand this condition. She says, "We are cacti in the rainforest." Think about a cactus. It is engineered by millions of years of evolution to survive in a desert. It is efficient. It stores water. It thrives in scarcity. Now, imagine you take that cactus and you plant it in a tropical rainforest. It rains every single day. There is water everywhere. What happens to the cactus? Does it thrive? Does it grow bigger and stronger? No. It rots. It absorbs too much. It gets waterlogged. Its systems fail, and it dies. You are that cactus, and the modern world is the rainforest. But instead of rain, you are drowning in dopamine. Dopamine is the universal currency of your brain. For years, scientists thought dopamine was about pleasure, but we were wrong. Dopamine is not about liking. Dopamine is about wanting. It is the molecule of desire. It is the engine that drives you to seek, to hunt, to acquire. In the past, you had to work for dopamine. You had to hunt the animal to eat. You had to walk miles to find water. You had to build a shelter to feel safe. The effort was the cost of the reward. But today, we have inverted the equation. We have removed the effort, and we have multiplied the reward 1,000 times over. The smartphone in your pocket is not just a phone. Dr. Lemke calls it the modern hypodermic needle. It delivers digital dopamine straight to your brain, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every like is a hit. Every news alert is a hit. Every text message is a hit. Every colorful icon is a hit. And that is just the technology. Add in the high fructose corn syrup engineered to bypass your satiety signals. Add in the high-potency cannabis that is 10 times stronger than what existed in the 60s. Add in the pornography that offers infinite novelty without the friction of human relationship. We have transformed the world from a place of scarcity into a place of overwhelming abundance. And your brain cannot handle it. Your neural machinery is breaking down under the load. This breakdown is what we are here to discuss. This is not a book about drug addicts living under a bridge. If you think this doesn't apply to you because you don't shoot heroin, you are missing the point. We are all addicts now. Maybe your drug is wine. Maybe it is work. Maybe it is validation. Maybe it is the news cycle. Maybe it is just the act of distraction itself. The result is the same. We are collectively tilting into a state of chronic dopamine deficit. We are rewiring our brains to be anxious, depressed, and unable to focus. We are chasing the high, but we are only deepening the low. But there is a way out. It is not easy, and it is completely counterintuitive. To get your life back, you have to do the one thing your brain is screaming at you not to do. You have to stop running from pain. You have to turn around and face it. Over the course of this summary, we are going to dismantle the architecture of your addiction. We are going to look under the hood of your own mind. We are going to explain, with precise neuroscience, why you feel the way you feel. And then, we are going to give you the protocol. We are going to give you the specific, tactical steps to reset your brain. We will teach you how to fast. We will teach you how to bind yourself against temptation. We will teach you how to weaponize pain to create a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. This is not just information. This is an intervention. You are living in a dopamine nation, and it is time to declare your independence. Let's begin with Part 1 and understand the trap you have fallen into. Part 1: The Neuroscience of Wanting. To fix a machine, you have to understand how it works. And make no mistake, you are a machine. Beneath your thoughts, beneath your feelings, and beneath your personality, there is a biological circuit. And that circuit is running a program that is currently destroying your life. So, let's open up the hood. Let's look at the engine of your desire. Deep inside your brain, there is a mechanism that governs how you process the world. Dr. Lemke calls this the pleasure-pain balance. I want you to visualize a playground teeter-totter in the center of your brain. It is a simple beam on a fulcrum. On the right side, you have pleasure. On the left side, you have pain. For a long time, neuroscientists thought these two things were separate. They thought pleasure lived in one part of the brain and pain lived in another. They were wrong. We now know that pleasure and pain are processed in the exact same region. They are two sides of the same coin. They operate in a closed system, and they function like a balance scale. Here is how it works. When you do something you enjoy, when you eat a piece of chocolate, when you scroll through TikTok, when you get a text from a crush, you release dopamine in the brain's reward pathway. This release tips the balance toward the side of pleasure. The teeter-totter goes down on the right, and you feel good. You feel a little zing. But here is the rule of the system, the one rule you cannot break. The brain demands stability. In biology, we call this homeostasis. Your brain does not want to be tipped to the side. It wants to be level. It wants to be neutral. So, what happens when you tip the balance toward pleasure? Your brain instantly fights back. It initiates a self-regulating process to bring the balance level again. Dr. Lemke calls this the opponent process mechanism. But to understand it viscerally, we are going to use her metaphor. I want you to imagine gremlins, little, heavy, invisible creatures living in your head. Every time you take a hit of dopamine, every time you tip the balance toward pleasure, a gremlin wakes up. He hops onto the other side of the balance. The pain side. His job is to counterbalance your pleasure. He jumps on the pain side to level out the scale. But here is the problem. The gremlins are slow. And they are clumsy. They don't just level the balance. They stomp on it. They slam it down hard on the side of pain. This is the come down. This is the hangover. This is that moment after you close Netflix where you suddenly feel empty. This is the moment after the sugar rush where you feel tired and irritable. That feeling is not random. That is the gremlin sitting on the pain side of your balance. Now, in a healthy environment, this is fine. You eat a berry, you feel good. The gremlin hops on, you feel a little dip. The gremlin hops off. Balance is restored. But you do not live in a healthy environment. You live in the dopamine nation. You are not eating a berry once a day. You are hammering the pleasure button 10,000 times a day. Click, scroll, snack, smoke, watch, click, scroll. You are flooding your brain with high-octane dopamine triggers that nature never intended. You are slamming the pleasure side of the balance into the ground. And your brain? Your brain is panicking. It screams, "We are off balance. We are tipping over." So it sends in more gremlins. It builds an army of them. And these gremlins are not just visiting anymore. They are setting up camp. They are pitching tents on the pain side of your balance. This is the biological definition of tolerance. You have heard that word before. But now you understand what it actually means. Tolerance is simply the weight of the gremlins. Because you have 10 gremlins sitting on the pain side, you now need a huge amount of dopamine just to lift them up. You need a massive hit just to get the balance back to level. You don't scroll Instagram to feel joy anymore. You scroll just to stop feeling anxious. You don't drink to get drunk. You drink to feel normal. You are no longer chasing a high. You are running from the low. And it gets worse. Because you never stop consuming, the gremlins never leave. They grow bigger, they grow stronger. And eventually, your brain's baseline shifts. Your neutral is no longer level. Your neutral is tilted toward pain. Dr. Lemke calls this the dopamine deficit state. This is the state of the modern human. This is why you have anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. Your balance is broken. The hinge is rusted. The gremlins are in control. You could be walking on a beach in paradise, but if your brain is in a dopamine deficit state, you won't feel peace. You will just feel the weight of the gremlins. You will feel restless. You will feel irritable. You will feel like something is missing. And your instinct, your lizard brain's instinct, is to fix it the only way it knows how. Get more dopamine. Check the phone again. Eat the donut. Watch the video. But that doesn't fix it. that just summons another gremlin. It creates a vicious spiral. The more you seek pleasure, the more you suffer. The more you run from pain, the more pain you create. This is the trap. This is the mechanism of your misery. It is a biological fact. You cannot cheat the balance. You cannot negotiate with the gremlins. So, the question is, how do you get them off? How do you reset a system that is fundamentally broken? How do you evict an army of gremlins that has taken over your mind? You cannot do it with willpower. You cannot do it with positive thinking. You have to do something radical. You have to starve them out. You need a protocol. And that is exactly what we are going to cover next. Part 2, the protocol of abstinence. You are not going to like this part. Nobody likes this part. But if you want to get your brain back, this is the price of admission. You probably have a voice in your head right now saying, I don't need to quit completely. I can just cut back. I will just use my phone less. I will just eat sugar on the weekends. That voice is a liar. That voice is the gremlin talking. Dr. Lemke is very clear on this point. When your brain is in a dopamine deficit state, when the balance is tipped and the gremlins are camped out, moderation is a myth. You cannot moderate a broken system. If you try to cut back, you are still feeding the gremlins. You are giving them just enough dopamine to stay alive, but not enough to satisfy the craving. That is a recipe for torture. That is why diets fail. That is why cutting down on smoking almost never works. To heal the mechanism, you have to stop the mechanism. You need a hard reset. You need abstinence. But for how long? A weekend is not enough. A week is not enough. Dr. Lemke's clinical data is specific. You need 30 days. Why 30 days? Because that is the biological timeline required for neuroadaptation to reverse itself. That is how long it takes for the gremlins to realize the dopamine supply has been cut off, pack up their tents, and leave. So, we are going to walk through this timeline. I want you to know exactly what is coming. Because if you don't know, you will quit. Phase 1 is the withdrawal. This is week 1 and week 2. This is the valley of death. When you stop the drug, whether it is cannabis, porn, or Instagram, the pleasure side of your balance lifts up. But the gremlins are still sitting on the pain side, and they are heavy. Without the dopamine to counteract them, your balance slams down hard into pain. You will feel worse than you did before. You will feel anxious. You will be irritable. You will have headaches. You will have insomnia. And the gremlins will scream at you. They will say, just one hit, just one peek, just one bite. They will try to trick you. They will say, see, life is miserable without this. You need it to function. This is the critical moment. Most people fail here because they think the pain is permanent. They think, this is my new reality. But it isn't. The pain is not the new reality. The pain is the healing. The pain is the evidence that the gremlins are starving. You have to hold the line. Phase 2 is the restoration. This happens in week 3 and week 4. If you can survive the first 2 weeks, something miraculous happens. The gremlins start to leave. They hop off the balance. The teeter-totter slowly creaks back to a level position. Homeostasis is restored. And suddenly, the sun comes out. You notice that your anxiety has dropped. You notice that you can focus on a conversation. You notice that music sounds better. You notice that you are sleeping deeply for the first time in years. You are not high. You are something better. You are free. To help you navigate this minefield, Dr. Lemke gives us a tactical framework. She uses the acronym DOPAMINE. This is your battle plan. Let's break it down, step by step. Step 1 is D for data. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Before you quit, look at the facts. Check your screen time stats. Count the empty bottles. Look at the credit card statement. Stop guessing. Get the hard numbers. You need to see the magnitude of the problem in black and white. Step 2 is O for objectives. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Be specific. I am scrolling because I am bored. I am drinking because I am lonely. I am watching porn because I am stressed. You need to identify the emotional trigger that precedes the act. If you don't know the trigger, you can't disarm it. Step 3 is P for problems. What is this costing you? And I don't just mean money. What is the cost to your relationships? What is the cost to your self-respect? What is the cost to your future? Write it down, make it real. Step 4 is A for abstinence. This is the main event. This is the 30-day fast. Cold turkey. No excuses. You commit to the timeline. You tell yourself, I can do anything for 30 days. Step 5 is M for mindfulness. This is your weapon during the withdrawal phase. When the gremlins start screaming, you do not fight them. and you do not feed them. You observe them. Dr. Lemke calls this urge surfing. Imagine the craving is a wave in the ocean. It starts small, it builds, it crests, it crashes, and then it dissolves. Most people panic when the wave builds. They think it will keep getting bigger forever. It won't. It always breaks. Your job is to stay on the surfboard. Watch the thought, label it. I am feeling a craving right now. Don't judge it, just watch it pass. Step 6 is eye for insight. This is the prize. This is what you get at the end of the 30 days. When your brain is clear, you can finally see the truth. You will realize that the thing you thought was helping you was actually hurting you. You will see the cause and effect clearly for the first time. Step 7 is N for next steps. Now you have a choice. You are clean, the balance is level. Do you want to go back? Some people realize they are better off quitting forever. Others decide they can reintroduce the behavior in moderation. But this time, they are in control, not the gremlins. And finally, step 8 is E for experiment. If you decide to go back, you need a new plan. You need rules. You need boundaries. You treat it like a scientific experiment. I will use for 1 hour on Saturday. If you slip, if the gremlins come back, then you know the experiment failed and you need to return to abstinence. This is the protocol. Data, objectives, problems, abstinence, mindfulness, insight, next steps, experiment. It sounds simple, but simple does not mean easy, because here is the reality of the human condition. Willpower is a finite resource. You might be strong on day 1, but what about day 10 when you are tired, hungry, and stressed? What about when your boss yells at you? What about when you feel that crushing loneliness? Willpower will fail you. It is a battery, and eventually, it runs out of charge. And when it runs out, the lizard brain wakes up. And the lizard brain does not care about your objectives. The lizard brain only wants one thing: dopamine. Now. So, you cannot rely on strength alone. You need to rig the game. You need to build a fortress around yourself so that even when you are weak, you cannot fail. Dr. Lemke calls this self-binding. And in part 3, we are going to teach you how to build the walls. Part 3. Self-binding strategies. Let's be honest with each other. You want to change. You have the plan. You have the motivation. But right now, you are calm. You are rational. Your prefrontal cortex is in charge. But at 11 p.m. tonight, when you are tired, when you are lonely, when the stress of the day is crushing you, your prefrontal cortex goes offline, and the lizard brain wakes up. The lizard brain does not care about your goals. The lizard brain does not care about your future. It only cares about one thing: consumption. If you rely on willpower alone to fight the lizard brain, you will lose. Willpower is a muscle. It fatigues. Every decision you make during the day drains your battery. By the time you get home, the battery is dead. And that is when you relapse. So, how do we win a fight when we are too weak to fight? We cheat. We rig the game before the fight starts. Dr. Lemke calls this self-binding. The term comes from the Odyssey. Odysseus knew he couldn't resist the song of the sirens. He didn't try to be strong. He ordered his men to tie him to the mast of the ship. He bound himself physically so that when the madness took him, he could not act on it. You need to tie yourself to the mast. And there are 3 ways to do it. Strategy number 1 is physical binding. This is about space. You must put geographical distance between you and the drug. If the phone is in your pocket, you will check it. If the cookies are on the counter, you will eat them. This is not a question of if, it is a question of when. You have to make the behavior physically difficult to perform. Dr. Lemke talks about the kitchen safe. It is a plastic box with a timed lock on the lid. You put your phone in. You put your controllers in. You dial in 2 hours. And it locks. There is no override code. You would have to smash it with a hammer to get it open. This forces a pause. And in that pause, your prefrontal cortex has a chance to come back online and say, "Don't do this." If you are addicted to video games, unplug the console and put it in the trunk of your car. If you are addicted to alcohol, pour it down the sink, not in the trash where you can dig it out. The sink. Make the friction so high that the lizard brain gives up. Strategy number 2 is chronological binding. This is about time. If you cannot quit completely, for example, if you need your phone for work, you must restrict the window of access. You set hard boundaries on the clock. I do not touch screens before 8 a.m. I do not touch screens after 8 p.m. By narrowing the window, you limit the time the gremlins can feed. But I have to warn you, Dr. Lemke notes that for severe addicts, this is often harder than quitting cold turkey, because all day long, you are waiting, you are watching the clock. The anticipation builds up dopamine, and when 8 p.m. hits, you binge even harder, so use this with caution. Strategy number 3 is categorical binding. This is the most subtle, but often the most powerful. This is about meaning. You have to realize that your addiction is not just the act itself. It is the web of triggers surrounding it. If you are a recovering sports gambling addict, you cannot watch ESPN. Even if you aren't betting, the score ticker is a trigger. The commentary is a trigger. It wakes up the gremlins. You have to ban the entire category of sports. Dr. Lemke shares her own story here. She wasn't addicted to drugs. She was addicted to romance novels. She would read them late into the night, ignoring her family, ignoring her patients. She realized she couldn't just read fewer of them. She had to ban the Kindle entirely. She had to ban the genre. She had to go back to paper books on boring topics. She had to bind herself against the category of fiction that triggered the binge. This is the story of Jacob, one of her patients. Jacob was a sex addict. He built a machine, a literal machine, to keep himself in a state of heightened arousal for hours without finishing. He was trapping himself in a dopamine loop. He didn't get free by using the machine less. He got free by throwing the machine in a dumpster, and then he banned all R-rated movies. He banned all magazines. He banned the internet filters. He categorized arousal as the enemy. This is what you must do. Look at your life. Where are the leaks? Where is the phone when you sleep? It should be in another room. Where is the junk food? It should be in the trash. Where are the apps? They should be deleted. Build your walls high. Build them strong. Because the lizard brain is cunning, and it is patient. So, we have reset the brain with abstinence. We have secured the perimeter with self-binding. Now, we are going to go on the offensive. We are going to stop hiding from discomfort. We are going to do something that sounds insane. We are going to chase the pain. Part 4, The Science of Pain. If you take only one thing from this entire summary, let it be this: the world has lied to you. From the moment you were born, you have been told that pain is bad. You have been told that suffering is a mistake. You have been told that if you feel sad, or bored, or anxious, or physically uncomfortable, you should fix it immediately. Take a pill, buy a cushion, turn on the AC, distract yourself. We have pathologized the entire spectrum of human suffering. We have created a world so sanitized, so comfortable, and so safe that we have forgotten how to feel anything at all. And this comfort is killing you. This avoidance of pain is exactly what is driving your addiction. Because remember the balance? Remember the teeter-totter. When you avoid pain, when you numb yourself with cheap dopamine, you are pressing on the pleasure side, and the gremlins stomp on the pain side. That is the law of the universe. But Dr. Lemke offers us a way to hack the system. She offers us a way to reverse the flow. What happens if you stop running from pain? What happens if you turn around, face the darkness, and run toward it? This brings us to the concept of hormesis. Hormesis is a biological term. It refers to the phenomenon where a low dose of something toxic or painful actually makes you stronger. Think about a callus on your hand. Friction is bad, it hurts, it damages the skin. But if you apply friction consistently, the skin doesn't just heal. It gets tougher, it gets thicker, it adapts. Your brain works the same way. And here is the magic trick. If you intentionally press on the pain side of the balance, if you expose yourself to something difficult, or cold, or exhausting, your brain still demands homeostasis. It still wants to be level. So, how does it compensate for the pain? It presses on the pleasure side, but this time, it doesn't use a drug. It uses its own supply. Your brain releases endogenous dopamine. It releases serotonin. It releases endorphins. It releases norepinephrine. Your brain becomes its own drug dealer. But this is the good stuff. This isn't the cheap, dirty dopamine you get from Instagram or sugar. This is high-quality, sustainable fuel. Dr. Lemke calls this the fit of joy. Think about the runner's high. You go for a run. It hurts. Your lungs burn. Your legs are heavy. You want to stop. That is you pressing on the pain side. But when you finish, you feel amazing. You feel a glow. And that glow doesn't crash after 10 minutes. It lasts for hours. It makes you sharper. It makes you calmer. This is the story of Michael, one of Dr. Lemke's patients. Michael was a heavy drug user. He had fried his reward pathways. He was in a deep dopamine deficit state. Nothing made him happy. How did he fix it? He didn't use a pill. He used ice water. He started taking freezing cold showers. He started doing cold plunges. The shock of the cold water was painful. It was a massive stressor. It slammed his balance down onto the pain side, and his brain responded by flooding his system with dopamine to keep him alive and calm. He replaced the artificial high of cocaine with the natural high of hormesis. He found balance through pain. So, here is your instruction. You need to incorporate hormetic stress into your daily life. You need to stop being so soft. First, embrace physical pain. Take the cold shower, lift the heavy weight, go for the run that makes you want to vomit. Do not do it because you want to look good. Do it to reset your brain. Do it to kick the gremlins off the balance. Second, embrace mental friction. Stop multitasking. Do deep work. Sit with a difficult problem for an hour without checking your phone. That feeling of frustration, that urge to quit, that is pain. Lean into it. The focus you find on the other side of that frustration is better than any drug you can buy. Third, embrace emotional honesty. And this is the hardest pain of all. The pain of telling the truth. The pain of admitting you are wrong. The pain of sitting with your own boredom and not medicating it. When you feel bored, that is your brain healing. When you feel lonely, that is your brain signaling you to connect. If you numb it, you kill the signal. If you sit with it, if you let it burn, you will eventually find the motivation to actually fix the problem. Dr. Lemke sums it up perfectly. The reason we're all so miserable may be because we're working so hard to avoid being miserable. Stop avoiding. Stop hiding. The pain is not the enemy. The pain is the medicine. But there is one final component to this recovery. We have covered the fast. We have covered the walls. We have covered the pain. But you can do all of these things and still fail if you are living a lie. Addiction grows in the dark. To kill it, you have to drag it into the light. You need radical honesty. And that is the subject of our final section. Part 5. Radical honesty. We have reached the final piece of the puzzle. And for many of you, this will be the hardest part. Because this part requires you to look in the mirror and admit something you have been hiding. If you are struggling with a compulsion, if you are struggling with an addiction, you are a liar. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as a diagnostic fact. Addiction and deception are Siamese twins. They share a blood supply. You cannot have one without the other. You lie to your spouse about how much you spent. You lie to your boss about why the project is late. You lie to yourself about how much time you wasted on the phone. I was just checking email. No, you weren't. I only had 2 drinks. No, you didn't. Lying is the superpower of the addict. It is the shield that protects the behavior from the consequences. As long as you can lie, you can keep using. As long as you can hide, the gremlins stay safe in the dark. But Dr. Lemke reveals something profound about the neuroscience of lying. Lying doesn't just protect the addiction socially. Lying actually weakens your brain biologically. Here is the science. When you tell the truth, especially when that truth is shameful or difficult, you engage the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain responsible for planning, for delayed gratification, and for executive control. It is the brake pedal of the brain. It is the only thing standing between you and the lizard brain. Every time you tell a lie, you bypass the prefrontal cortex. You weaken the brakes. You carve a neural pathway that says, when I feel discomfort, I can just fake reality. But conversely, every time you practice radical honesty, you are doing a rep in the gym for your prefrontal cortex. You are strengthening the fiber connections between your reasoning brain and your reward system. You are literally building the hardware required for self-control. Dr. Lemke's prescription is extreme. She doesn't just want you to stop lying about the drugs. She wants you to stop lying about everything. The white lies, the exaggerations, the omissions. She calls this radical honesty. Why go this far? Because you need to train your brain to handle reality without flinching. If you can tell your partner, I forgot to do the dishes because I was lazy, instead of making up an excuse, you are training your brain to accept consequences. And if you can accept consequences, you don't need to escape into dopamine. This brings us to the concept of pro-social shame. We often think shame is bad, and toxic shame is bad. Toxic shame is when you hide in the closet and tell yourself, I am a bad person. That leads to isolation. And isolation leads to relapse. But pro-social shame is different. Pro-social shame is when you stand up in a group of people, like in AA, or with a group of trusted friends, and you say, I messed up, I did this thing, and I am sorry. When you do that, you don't get rejected. Usually, you get accepted. You get forgiven. And biologically, This releases a massive wash of dopamine and oxytocin. It creates intimacy. And this is the ultimate secret. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. Think about the romance novel addict Dr. Lemke describes. She was reading about love. She was reading about intimacy. But she was ignoring her real husband in the next room. She was trading real intimacy, which is messy and hard, for fake intimacy, which is easy and perfect. Fake intimacy gives you a dopamine spike and a crash. Real intimacy gives you a sustainable baseline of joy. But you cannot have real intimacy if you are wearing a mask. You cannot be loved if you are not known, and you cannot be known if you are lying. So here is the challenge. You have to drag the monster out into the sunlight. You have to tell on yourself. Find one person, just one. It can be a therapist, a priest, a partner, a friend, and tell them the truth. The whole truth. The I spent 4 hours watching TikTok's truth. The I looked up my ex on Instagram truth. The I ate the whole cake truth. It will be terrifying. Your lizard brain will scream, they will hate us, they will leave us. But they probably won't. They will probably say, me too. And in that moment of connection, the gremlins lose their power. Honesty is the sword that cuts the head off the snake. Pick it up and use it. Reaching the end, let's sum up. We have covered a lot of ground today. We have journeyed through the architecture of your own mind. We have stared down the gremlins. And we have built a battle plan. Let's recap the protocol. Because knowledge without action is just another form of entertainment. And we are done with entertainment. Number 1, understand the mechanism. You are not broken. You are just out of balance. Your brain is a teeter-totter, and you have been pressing too hard on the pleasure side. The pain you feel is just the counterweight. It is simple physics. Number 2, the 30-day reset. You cannot moderate a dependency. You must starve it. Commit to the 30 days. Endure the withdrawal. Wait for the clouds to part. Prove to yourself that you are the master of your own house. Number 3, self-binding. Do not trust your willpower. Trust your walls. Create distance. Lock the phone. Dump the junk food. Block the websites. Tie yourself to the mast before the sirens start singing. Number 4, embrace pain. Stop running from discomfort. Chase the hormesis. Take the cold shower. Run the hill. Do the deep work. Press on the pain side of the balance to unlock the natural, sustainable joy that is already inside you. Number 5, radical honesty. Stop lying. Stop hiding. Connect with people, not pixels. Use the truth to strengthen your mind and build the intimacy that you are actually starving for. Listen to me closely. You are living in a dopamine nation. The world is not going to help you. The algorithms are not going to help you. The corporations are not going to help you. They are betting against you. They are betting that you will stay a cactus in the rainforest, rotting in your own pleasure. But you have a choice. You can stay on the ride, looping through the highs and lows, chased by gremlins, forever hungry and never full. Or, you can step off. You can choose the hard path, the path of friction, the path of truth, the path of balance. It won't be easy. It will be the hardest thing you ever do. But I promise you, the view from the other side is worth it. So, put down the phone. Go outside, feel the wind on your face, and welcome back to the real world. If this video helped you, hit the like button and subscribe. It really supports the channel. Thanks for watching.